Hi everyone. I am writing these on the board and I encourage you to do the same. This is being recorded for my online class. And we're going to talk about each of these. These are steps. On writing the research essay, and obviously a lot of pre-writing as you ready yourself for the project. We'll be defining what a working thesis is. Okay, so as you can see, you guys keep writing and I will go ahead. I do advise keeping some space in between these or creating space on the page so you can develop, so you can take notes on what these things actually mean, which is what we're here to talk about today. So I'll give you all a couple moments to get caught up. So let's start by looking at number one, which is to choose a subject. Obviously this comes out, well, number one is read the prompt, right? Which we did individually in our one-on-one conferences, and you guys did on your own, so you're fully aware that the prompt asks you to consider something in American society, a part of American society that was altered or affected by COVID-19 and its variants. So how many of you, show of hands, have your subject in place already? You have a subject. Raise your hand, please. Okay, so most of you in here, hopefully those at home. Also, because I did meet with some, and hopefully others are developing their ideas. I am going to put it out here right now to anyone at home or in this room. I thought of something last night when I was watching the news. there was a segment on how Yosemite is no longer taking reservations, and this is a follow-up due to several issues that came about during COVID in the park. And so I thought, if anyone is wondering or, kind of at a loss for a subject, how national parks, specifically Yosemite, was affected by COVID-19 and its variants. So remember, the parks shut down, the rangers and staff, I think, there were a lot of issues that came up, right? So it could be a very interesting essay to explore. It doesn't have to be Yosemite, it could be any national park. Or I feel like overall it would be a little bit too broad, but you could discuss in the introduction how all the national parks, the whole system was affected, but then namely a specific park and how that affected the rangers or the staff and the campers or visitors. So that could make a really interesting essay. So I just want to put that out there. But at this point, you should have read your prompt and chosen your subject. Now, part of reading the prompt class is understanding some of the details. So the first draft is due when? In here. It's a little bit different at home. So at home meaning online. But in this class, your final draft is due December 12th. So make a list to remind yourself due date of the final draft. Maybe put that here. When is the first draft due? In this class, it's the 7th, I believe. It's either the 5th or the 7th. Let's check right now, so we don't make any mistakes. What is it?
The 12th or the 7th?
Well, there's two due dates. There's the first draft and the final draft. The final draft is the 12th.
Okay.
The first draft is the 5th, December 5th. That's in 3 weeks, you guys. So today is November 16th. It's a Wednesday. We have class on Monday. We will probably not meet on Wednesday unless we meet via Zoom, because that is the day before Thanksgiving, and it's unofficial, right? But I'll certainly be available, that's for sure, via Zoom. And then after that, we have a Monday and a Wednesday, and I think that's 1 week, and then the following week, your draft is due. So I just want to really emphasize that even though December sounds like a far away date, it's actually 2 weeks away, 2 or 3 weeks, right? So that's why we're going over all this today and what we'll be working on in class until the due date, okay? Okay, so in the prompts, you want to make sure you have your due dates, because you have two due dates. The first draft will be for the peer review workshop, and it has more points than the usual one that we do, and that's because we are going to be checking for additional things such as MLA format. That's going to be in-text citations and your works cited page. So I know you guys know this already, and most of you in here come every single time, but make sure to come to class every time from here on out till the end of this semester, because we're going to work on this 100%. And I think you'll find you'll do really well if you're here. So okay, let me go back to my little notes. So you guys should have your subject chosen and hopefully narrowed down. This is as much for the students at home as it is in here, to make sure that's the key to success on this, is to have it narrowed down, to fit a 6 to 8 paragraph essay. in the example in the prompt, I share with you how I would narrow my subject down from the education system to college level, and then who would have been affected and how. And that's educators and students. And then I would look specifically into the future at how online learning would be affected, or how it would affect both face-to-face and online learning. So I share that not because I'm long-winded, although admittedly I am. I also am showing you how to narrow your own subjects down, okay? So just make doubly sure that that's what's happening. Then, if you haven't already, how many of you you should have already, but just a show of hands, how many of you have met with the librarian already? Almost everyone? Okay, let's make that a priority. I just want to get my little notes out here. It'll help me. Okay. All right. So if you've met with your librarian, then you have several resources from the database. If you're going to include 6 resources in this assignment, at least half should come from the database. If you are using outside sources, they should be scholarly level resources. So we know that that means like New York Times, PBS, NPR, things like this. We want to make sure it's scholarly level, and we've worked on that all semester, so I won't overplay that today. But while you're evaluating your resources, you're going to find that some work better than others. You may or may not find something to use in each and every single one. So while you're reading them, you'll want to take notes and keep your publication citation in MLA format. Now, if you guys are working with the librarian, then you probably received both the articles and the citations in an email. So it's a matter of alphabetizing them and double checking them as we go along for accuracy in terms of formatting, italics, spacing, capitalization, this kind of thing. They're not automatically 100% formatted correctly, however the information is there. So again, you'll want to take notes and set aside quotes or statistics or supporting details that may support your argument. Now, while you're doing this, class, I want to make clear, here's the thesis statement. This says to write a working thesis statement, okay, by actually creating a question, a guiding question, because this is a quest for answers. Research essay is a search for answers. So when you're in the beginning stages, you want to write a guiding question. The reason why, class, is you're seeking answers. You are not reporting answers. You don't know them yet. And the danger of this assignment is creating answers before you've done the research, right? To decide how, for example, this is a predictive outcome looking at the future of whatever your subject holds following COVID-19. For you to say the answer before you've done the research is kind of undoing the assignment. Okay, that in reading these publications, reading your articles and your resources, you want to be open to what you're told. You don't want to reject something because it doesn't fit your already in place thesis statement, right? You're not building that. Your information should inform the thesis statement. The thesis statement doesn't inform the publications, if that makes, or your articles, the information. So that's why we start by creating a guiding question. So in your first draft, you're seeking to answer this guiding question. Each of you will have your own guiding question. There's no real cookie cutter way to do it other than what does the future hold post COVID-19? What does the future hold for my subject, or how has COVID-19 altered the future of my subject? For example, I don't think face-to-face classes will ever be the same. We can always go, hey, let's meet via Zoom. You know, in my mind, a face-to-face class is probably always going to be a bit of a hybrid class from here on out, because all of our learners from kindergarten up to college level are now familiar with online learning, right? We're well versed in it, so it's totally kind of normal for me to say, hey, instead of meeting in the classroom, we'll have a Zoom meeting on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Right? It doesn't, 3 years ago that would have been like, what's Zoom? Right? How do I do that? Right? So that's what I'm saying. I feel like forever face-to-face classes will be altered by what we all went through in COVID-19. So you can use that as an example to sort of consider your own. All right, so the other thing I want to talk about is the format for the research essay. And the format, as we said, it has a predictive outcome, which means you're exploring the past, present, and future of your subject. This will help you order your essay, right? So this inherently is chronological. First, second, third, 1, 2, 3, right? But it's also a compare and contrast. Because when you're discussing these three things, you're going to be using transitional words such as in contrast or similarly, right? Is there a sharp contrast between pre-COVID, present COVID, and the future of, in regards to your subject? So there's an inherent compare-contrast, but overall, it's a cause and effect essay, which you guys just wrote. You just finished writing. And so when you think about how successful you are on that essay, consider, if you did well, continue what you learned on that into this one. If you struggled with it and were a little bit confused, I would definitely go back and rewatch the lecture, kind of review format in terms of cause and effect. Look up cause and effect transitions, because this is a cause and effect essay. COVID-19 and its variants is the cause. Your subject is what was affected, and then you're going to also include who, what, when, where, and how it was affected, right? That's what this is all about. And how those things were affected in the present and how they will be potentially in the future. How they were pre-COVID. So it'll be good to have these in front of you. Definitely review these things. because we wrote a compare contrast essay. We've written a cause and effect essay. So as you start considering, after you've read all your notes, right? You've read your resources. You've gone through all this. You might have a couple of things you want to review, right? And then you start drafting your outline. The outline I suggest is the one we've used in class, right? Intro, four-body, conclusion, and we have our paragraph outlines and so on, which we can review again, perhaps on Monday, just to make doubly sure everyone remembers it, right? I'm always happy to do that. But that's what we're talking about when we say draft our outline. You're going to have your four-body paragraphs, maybe 5, maybe 6, because you can go to 8 paragraphs. And you'll want to have your support in each paragraph, analysis in each paragraph, sometimes twice, right? And so you can develop your outline, and as you're reading your resources, you can start plugging in your summary and analysis, even if you haven't fully developed the topic yet, or the topic sentence and analysis, or the definition. So just remember the quilt metaphor that I've given you guys, in terms of you can start filling in your outline as you go. And then once all the information's there, smooth each sentence out so that it's cohesive. Are you following me on that? Does that make sense? Okay. So once you have your first draft written, again, due December 5th in this class, it's due on November 30th at home. We'll have our peer review workshop in class. Now, I'm actually going to do things a little bit differently here in class, and I'm going to give you guys research study groups together. Not that you have to study together, but we'll meet in groups in class. Today, we're going to start by sharing, just start sharing your subject. Just start talking about the project and where you're at, what your intentions are, what some of the issues are, what are your successes so far, where are you at with it? Just in general, just to kind of keep our interest in focus, and someone in class, maybe you could ask a question or bounce an idea off of, whatever. So we're going to form groups. It's not just going to be a peer review group on one day. It's going to be from today until the rest of the semester. Okay? So we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So then after we do our peer review workshops, that's when the real work starts, folks. I've noticed some, not all, but some students participate in the peer review workshop, but then they don't really change very much before they submit it. It's kind of like, oh, okay, I got the peer review workshop done, now I can submit this essay. And so there's a lot of good advice that gets ignored. So we're going to work, I want you guys to slowly revise, slowly edit, read them out loud, read each sentence, look for word variation, sentence variation. Are you saying what you mean to say? Is it clear and concise? And then you'll want to double check your MLA format, and there's a couple things we're going to talk about, what that means in terms of works cited and in-text citation, how to properly introduce your support in MLA format. It's more than just parentheses, right? And then finally you'll get to submit your final draft on that magical day, right? Okay, any questions about this? Clear as mud? Okay, so why don't we I asked you all to bring your resources to class, make sure that they're downloaded on your laptop so you don't have to use Wi-Fi. So as you know, we're limited in this classroom. But why don't you take that stuff out, and I'm gonna go ahead and put you all in meetings. I'm gonna let that run. So. Are you Jennifer? Yeah. Okay. Why don't we have Jennifer, Stefan, and Edgar over here? And Paisley is not here today, but she will be, I'm sure, on Monday. So why don't we do Paisley, sorry, I'm pointing, Manroop and Remen.
Here.
You two today, and then Paisley will join you on Monday, okay? And then Iris and Emilce, who's not here today, and Sophia. Yes, and then, well, why don't you join them today, and then Emilce can be in a different group, some other, like, okay? So go ahead and get in your groups and just start talking about your projects. Share what what you've done so far, what your goals are, whatever. I'll come around to each group and touch base with you.
So this morning I'm like, I wonder like freedom and like balance of fear and freedom. So that's what yeah.
So what I plan to talk about, my essay is how most knows about COVID, so and how it affected the car industry production, basically. And then some I guess like topics to talk about was like, or like the more like the most important thing of why car production was affected was microchip shortage, so no. And then basically that's my article I found. And then this one right here talks about